Hello and welcome to another Final Fantasy XIV related video, and today we're gonna continue on with the new player beginner guide. So if you're new to Final Fantasy XIV and are looking for some infos in regard of the beginning of the game or interested in starting, this will most likely be a series for you. In the last video, which you can find in the upper right corner right now, there's a link to the first video of the series. If you missed it, I highly recommend you to watch it. There I talked about the demo, character creation and the first 8 classes you can choose from when starting a new game. For this video we will actually talk about those 8 starter classes, so you can choose for yourself as which you want to start into the game, but make sure that I will probably not go over all the abilities of those different classes, because this would expand the time of this video too much. And also don't forget that you can change that after you reach level 10, so if you are not happy with the first choice, you can easily get this changed later. So let's go through our options and also talk about their roles and content, though we are not really talking about the gameplay and skills you will receive on max level, but rather talk about the fundamentals of the early game. First off, let's talk about the tanks. Tanks in this game, or really any classic MMO, are pretty much those who control a battlefield. Your role is to keep everyone alive by focusing all the attacks of your enemies on you. There are some exceptions, but for the early game, mostly looking at the first 50 levels, this is your main goal. You have a bigger HP pool than the other roles if you play a tank. You are beefier and can take quite some hits. Also, you have aggro and midi gaining abilities to make it easier to get those enemies focused on you, and defensive cooldowns to make sure you are taking less damage. So as you tank, your job is to manage the battle and make sure you control the battlefield, keeping your partners as safe as possible. Now to the healers. Your main focus is keeping people alive. You get heal spells, also buffs to lower incoming damage for certain party members or even everyone, so you have shields and also heals over times, regen effects, depending on the healer you play. Some have the heals over time, some have the shields. As a healer you can also deal damage. Same goes for tanks, of course, but your main priority is to keep people alive. Also cover up mistakes by people getting hit accidentally from attacks they could have avoided. Also don't worry, as the guide goes on and we hit higher levels, I will talk about dealing damage on other roads as well, but let's really focus on the basics first. And lastly, we have the DPS. As a whole, since there might be different types of DPS, but the main focus stays the same, dealing damage. Though some DPS provide more group utility than others, but therefore their overall damage is lower in comparison. Again, in the early content, and especially foreman content, it does not matter which roles you bring in. Synergy between them, however, will become more important later on. In the first 15 levels, there won't be too many differences between classes of the same role, but we should at least briefly cover the basics of the basics. So tanks. In the early levels, they don't have too many differences, though gladiators will use some magic skills while warrior is more about attacking. Healer. We will only have the conjurer for now. You can heal basic damage with cure, you can deal damage over time with your arrow, or also magical damage with your stone cast. As DPS, now this varies quite a bit between the roles. Melee, so physical DPS, would be Pugilist and Lancer. If you like to try something close combat, then go with either of them. While Pugilist is more about rhythm and positionals, like attacking from behind or the side, Lancers has less of them, like they have less positionals, and it is also a little bit slower. Therefore, other roles benefit more from having it due to the damage up or resistance down skills that he can provide. Range, we have the Archer. You can attack from huge range. You don't really have a combo like the other classes have, but rather a priority system when fighting. Also, you get a lot of support abilities. Magic. We have Thaumaturge, who is a lot about DPSing, using fire, ice and lightning, and has basically endless MP, which we will definitely talk about later. And we have the Arcanist, a more dot heavy job, damage over time attacks, and also equipped with a pet that you will learn to master to maximize your damage output. And keep in mind, this is one of the now 2 casters in the game, DPS casters, who can actually use the spell Raise and raise fallen party members. This can be quite useful. Also keep in mind that spells and physical attacks work differently. While you can immediately use a physical attack and have to wait for a global cooldown of max 2.5 seconds after, and can also move around while doing so, casters will have to stand still for about the same amount of time to perform their action, but do not have such a global cooldown in the case after they use the spell. So the gameplay is a little different here for sure. So this means if you want to deal a lot of damage with a Thaumaturge, you'll be standing still and casting, while you can physically hit the enemy from different sides and keep moving around, so there is quite a difference here. If you start off with one that you enjoy, it's super great, but make sure you give the other jobs or classes in the game also a look, because maybe you like something else more than the one that you actually started with. So basically we're gonna cut it here, and for the next video we will actually take care of the first few level quests and start our new class. Also, I will inform you about the server and the class I will choose probably later, or maybe in the comment section of this video while I'm preparing the next video. I don't know on which server I will be going. It will most likely be one where I can get a lot of EXP boost, and probably one in Ether, but I'm not 100% sure on that. So also, if you have any suggestions for the next video, please let me know, because I'm still kinda in the making phase of these, and having some feedback will definitely help me. But for now, I think for the next one I will probably do about the first 10 levels of a new class, and we will talk about how to actually do quests, what you have to do, what you can look at. Maybe we will only do the first 5. That really depends on how much other stuff I want to show while showing those quests, and I don't want to spoil the story, so I'll mostly be skipping the story and cutscenes, but it's more about how gameplay actually works and what you can do in the early levels. So that's basically it for today. Thank you so much for watching, and have a wonderful day.